Good morning. Good morning. Usually it takes 3 times, three good mornings, and we finally get everybody's attention. Welcome to the 2017 Breakfast Convocation of the Center for State Policy and Leadership. Really, keep eating. I don't want you to stop. And if you want to get seconds or thirds, feel free to walk to the back of the room. My name is David Racine. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for State Policy and Leadership. And before we get started with the program, I'd like our fearless leader, Chancellor Susan Cook, to say a few remarks.
Thank you, David. Well, I just have a very easy job this morning. I have the opportunity to welcome all of you, so welcome. I'm delighted to be with you today. This is really one of my favorite events of the year, and I know there are a number of regulars in the audience who really look forward to hearing from our students as well. So delighted to have all of you here. The other thing I just wanted to quickly take the opportunity to say is I really want to thank David Racine for his great leadership of this organization. It's a very diverse group, as you know, but it is a way for us to have such a tremendous impact on our community. So thank you, David, so much for your leadership. So thank you, and like you, I look forward to the rest of the program.
I did not tell her to say that, so let's be clear. Also want to recognize a few people in the room who are especially close to us. Naomi Lynn, Tom Lazell, Justin Blanford. As we have other members of the advisory board here. They're members of the Center for State Policy and Leadership Advisory Board. You want to raise your hands? Just come on. Thank you. We truly do depend on their advice, which they happily provide. So it works for both of us, both groups of people. Also, I want to recognize Karen Hacera, former mayor of Springfield and trustee of the board of the University of Illinois. Okay, right there. And since I know most of the people in here, I'm not going to go through the rest. But I'm always, this is, like the Chancellor, this is always very kind of fun, pleasing event because it shows the really great range of people who are involved in our work. I was thinking about that when I'm early. I come here right at the beginning before anybody's here, and I'm sitting down. I gotta wolf down my breakfast in order to get ready. And then as people filter in, we go, this is just such an interesting group of people. We have old and young, we have black and white. I mean, it's just a very diverse group of people who I want to believe are committed to public service, and that's why they come to this event every year. I want to specifically recognize, as we get the program started, Barbara Ferrara, who's right there. Barb is going to be retiring in June after over 41 years at this institution. She gave birth to it almost, I guess you could say, and has been sheltering her child all along. Her contributions have been tremendous to the campus. We'll have other events in the course of between now and when she retires, where we will retell the Barbara Ferrara story, but clearly has left her mark on both clearly on the Center for State Policy and Leadership and as well on the larger institution of the University of Illinois Springfield. So we are extremely grateful for her long years of service. We will be, just so you know, if you wanted to come and see it at some point, we will be planting a tree in her honor next to her favorite president, Abraham Lincoln, the statue that's out on the other side of this building, and it'll have a plaque honoring her 40 years of service. This was something that we did last year, and the tree is getting planted shortly, right? Yeah. So anyway, now I mentioned Barb both because she deserves the recognition, but also because she, like me, is a member of the baby boom generation. And there are other people in here who are members of the baby boom generation, probably. You might not want to admit it, but you are. And we are in the final years of our careers. I mean, it's a fact. We don't probably like to talk about it. In fact, I just came across something this morning in my reading about how, from the organization called the Frameworks Institute, how how aging people don't like to talk about aging in America. But the reality is that for those of us in the baby boom, we are moving on. Many of the people already have retired in that generation, and the rest of us will be in the foreseeable future. And we will therefore, and we've been leading the country for the past 20 years. Nearly all parts of society, with perhaps the exception of high-tech organizations like Facebook, have been dominated by members of the baby boom. Who were the two candidates in the last presidential election? Members of the baby boom. And we're moving away, we're phasing out, and now the responsibility for leading is being pushed on to earlier, younger generations. So I say all this because in deciding how to approach this year's convocation, where we sort of give you a sampling of the kinds of work that the Center for State Policy and Leadership did in 2016, I asked our younger stakeholders to plan and execute the program under the able leadership of Rob Fafolia, who's the administrative aide in the center, and Cody Pope, who is the director of the Office of Electronic Media. And with that said, I'm going to turn the program over to them.
I'm very grateful to have the professional experiences that I've had because even though I do plan to go into teaching, I think having experience in the office and having the professional training has been really beneficial. And then something rare, even in graduate assistantship positions, I don't think you get that kind of exposure and professionalization that you get from a GPSI position.
So I got to know a lot of what happens behind the scenes in terms of federal appropriations and state appropriations. Prior to that, I didn't really understand how the department was funded or why it received money from federal and from the state. Now I have a little bit more of a base of how the money gets from the federal government to the department and then down to the municipalities. So I think I will take that with me.
I'd like to share with you tonight one contemporary analysis of why Lincoln would have behaved differently from Andrew Johnson. And this analysis is offered by one of Lincoln's notable contemporaries, Frederick Douglass.
I think I've really gained a lot of professional experience in how to work with individuals that are obviously at a much higher level than me, and being able to communicate with at all sorts of capacities. I really think my professionalism has really grown through this internship.
You really learn you basically become a staffer, which is the cool thing. You're doing what the staffers are doing up there. So you're basically part of the team. And then exposure, you just get exposed to so much of the political process that, you know, not everyone outside of the process is very, very aware of. So you get to know and learn about all different sorts of agencies, non-governmental organizations, stuff like that.
Hi, my name is Charlie Montgomery. I'm the Highway Commissioner for Monticello Township in Piatt County. With the assistance of the township officials of Illinois, we are able to travel to various locations across Illinois, the north, south, west, and east. We hope that members of the Illinois General Assembly, as well as local government leaders, will see from this project the value of what we do for the local government landscape in Illinois.
Hello everyone, I'm Matt Case and I'm the Interim Director of the UIS Survey Research Office. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up here this morning to learn more about the center. So instead of doing a rundown of what we have done over the past year, I'd like instead to focus very briefly on a trend in Illinois which has gotten a lot of attention lately, and that is people moving out of Illinois. As you may be aware, people are leaving Illinois for other states quite rapidly. A recent study by United Van Lines showed that in 2016, Illinois had a high number of outbound moves as a percentage of total moves. than any other state with the exception of New Jersey. Estimates from the Census Bureau show that from 2015 to 2016, Illinois lost approximately 37,500 residents, but these losses were felt deeper in some areas, such as parts of central Illinois. The Survey Research Office has asked respondents whether they have considered leaving the area, and separately, what type of population growth rate they'd like to see. For instance, in our 2015 Sangamon County Citizens Survey, we asked respondents whether they have, in the past 12 months, considered moving out of or away from Sangamon County. Overall, about 35% said they have, but this figure is higher for certain groups of individuals, such as those with lower incomes. As you can see in this chart, individuals who report annual income of $45,000 or less are more likely to report thinking about moving away than those who earn more than this figure. So then employment opportunities clearly have something to do with why people are moving away. But here's the real story. In addition to income, the Citizens Survey found that younger respondents are more likely to think about moving away than older respondents. In fact, about half of respondents under 35 considered moving away in the past 12 months, compared to just 33% of respondents ages 35 to 54, and only 27% of respondents ages 55 and older. So, what else plays a role? Well, being born in Sangamon County does not have much of an impact, and I'll confess that when I started looking at this data, I was under the impression that those who were born here would be disproportionately less likely to consider leaving. The reason being that these individuals would have family ties or possibly access to economic networks that other individuals would not. But, in fact, there is no statistically significant difference between these groups of people. So, what really makes a difference? Well, in truth, when we look at the data in a statistical model, we find that controls for multiple demographic factors such as race, income, education, etc., we really find only one predictor of considering leaving Sangamon County, and that's age. So we saw that in the last chart. It's pretty stark. Those who are younger than 35, about 50% of them consider leaving. Those who are 35 or older are really not considering leaving in a very large number. So, what would make individuals want to stay in Sangamon County? Well, we asked those who considered moving away what would need to change for them to stay, and we found that some things are clearly outside of our control. So, for instance, 15% said a change in the weather would make them stay. That's not going to happen. So, 24% cited a personal situation such as being closer to children or grandchildren, and obviously there's little that can be done about that either. But 28% cited needing better job opportunities, and 8% cited needing better educational opportunities. So there are strides we can make. So I've talked a bit about what makes people likely to leave or to stay in terms of demographics, but the Survey Research Office has also asked individuals about growth in the area. And this graph, for instance, shows responses to the question, Springfield's population increased by 4% from 2000 to 2010. Over the next 20 years, what type of population growth rate should Springfield encourage overall? This was a question that we asked in the community survey, which was a component of the City of Springfield's update to their comprehensive plan last year. And as the chart shows here, as you may be somewhat surprised, only 23% reported wanting to see a faster rate of growth, while 50% wanted to see the same rate. So, but who wants faster growth out of these individuals? Well, again, when we look at the data in a statistical model, we find that being a non-white resident and having lived in Springfield for a long time predicts faster growth. And I don't really know how to explain that. That's just what it shows. Income, education, and age do not seem to predict wanting faster growth whatsoever. But when we ask a similar question to business and nonprofit leaders in the area, we actually find quite different results. So as you can see here, 42% of individuals that are leaders in either business or nonprofit sectors are wanting a faster rate of growth. 43% want the same rate, and only a minority of 15% are interested in either a slower rate or no growth at all. So clearly things are looking a little bit different for those that are in a position to hire. So what's next? Well, Working with the Community Foundation for the Land of Lincoln and the United Way for Central Illinois, the Survey Research Office is conducting its third Sangamon County Citizen Survey over the summer. We will present results July 28th at the Hoagland Center for the Arts at the Citizens Club meeting. And once again, we'll have the opportunity to hear from respondents all over the area and be able to look now at changes over time. Hopefully we'll get a better understanding of attitudes towards growth and find out a bit more about what we can do to get people to stay in and invest in Sangamon County. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Taylor Arnold. I started my internship at the Child Protection Training Academy in January of this year. My ultimate goal in joining the academy was to improve my ability to speak in front of large crowds, and here I am. I've always envisioned myself working with children, but I felt as if I didn't have the entire picture about children's lives. And then I found the Child Advocacy Studies curriculum and met with Dr. Betsy Goulet, who invited me to sit in on a mock courtroom simulation. Since then, the Academy has continued to provide insight and inspiration. The mission of the Child Protection Training Academy is to provide experiential training that connects classroom content to realistic environments similar to what investigators will encounter in the field. Students also have the opportunity to experience simulation labs as they consider careers working with at-risk children and families. As of April 11th, 2017, over 200 new DCFS investigators have completed their training at the Academy. The Academy now has plans to expand to training law enforcement and other child welfare professionals. Through simulations, child protection investigators and trainers are able to put into practice what they have learned in the classroom about policy and procedure. The following video is a new child protection investigator attempting to engage the family about a report of suspected abuse and then later testifying in the mock courtroom to the evidence she collected during an investigation.
Whatever you're selling, we're not interested today.
Oh, thank you. My name is Lisa. I'm actually with the Department of Child and Family Services.
Well, you know, we took care of all of this yesterday at the hospital. We're good, so
I know,
appreciate you coming by.
Okay. I'm the worker who's been assigned now to the case, so I know that you've spoken with a lot of people last night and maybe even today, but I'm going to be the one that is going to be following through with this now. Do you have a few minutes to speak?
If we have to.
Okay.
I'm in.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
I'm Sandra Miranda.
Hi, Sandra. It's nice to meet you. I'm Lisa. So you are Maria's mother?
I am Maria's mother, yes.
Okay.
But she's not here right now.
Okay. So it's just you at home?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And is Michelle here at home?
No, Maria has Michelle.
Okay. Where's Maria at?
I believe she went to check on Terrell. I'm not sure.
Okay. And so is Terrell still in jail?
As far as I know.
Okay.
All is shorter than Caleb that you used.
That's correct.
Okay. So the possibility may have been that because the doll is not the same height as Caleb, that's why the chair did not land on the doll exactly like Miss Brand has described with Caleb. Is that a possibility?
No, because the bruises were in different stages of healing.
Okay. Could the chair have landed on Caleb to cause at least one of the bruises?
It's possible.
Okay. Who indicated to you that the bruises were in different stages of healing?
That was the doctor.
Which doctor?
That was the attending doctor in the ER, Dr. Kramer.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Otwell, and I am a journalist for NPR Illinois, WUIS, and we're still focused on covering the State House and all its action and inaction. And Illinois Issues has merged with us over the last few years, so that's still been a successful partnership. We've been able to do more in-depth work. Meanwhile, Carter here will introduce himself and tell you about some of the new efforts we've been working on.
Hi everybody, my name is Carter Staley. I started interning at the station about a year ago, and now I'm the digital engagement assistant, and so I help a lot with our engagement and management manager to organize different events, special events for our listeners. And one that we want to kind of highlight that we did last year was a series of 3 viewing parties for the 3 presidential debates we had last year. I produced a video about the first one, which we'll see in a second, and it was at Balin's Bar and Grill. And what we noticed was a lot of people were more interested and more engaged in politics last year during the election than maybe they ever have been in their lives. So we kind of wanted to give them a local place in their community to come together and weigh in on the politics of the election. So, and then something else you'll notice in the video is we had like a pre-debate discussion with 3 or 4 of our journalists to kind of give people an idea of what to expect from the candidates, or maybe give them some context about the topics that might be discussed at the debates. So here's the video.
Find ISIS on the website. I don't think General Douglas MacArthur would like that.
By and large, people were paying attention to what 2 presidential candidates were saying, and they were really focused on that.
I loved it to hear the collective reactions. It just made it so much more emotional and exciting.
I think there was some frustration that I gleaned. Again, I, of course, like everybody else, checking the tweets, and some people were wondering, where is Lester Holt?
Both candidates, I mean, on both sides were just like, you know, rambling off at this, like just flying by the seat of their pants, and I was just kind of like, I was a little hurt by that, you know, as a former debate team member. I just feel like, oh, where's your cutoff? Where's your time?
I don't think he did anything differently, but she definitely exceeded my expectations on how she handled him kind of bullying her a little bit, and his rolling his eyes and everything. But I thought she really did some really good jobs on comebacks.
When she called him on things, you know, and people in the audience were starting to cheer there, I think also at the event.
Yeah. It was a lot of repeats, but nonetheless went somewhat head-to-head and directly spoke to one another. And I appreciated, I think, that the moderator took a step back and allowed that to happen.
You were in the more raucous part.
I was. There was some yelling, some answer the question, some cheers.
Yeah, it was better than sitting at home and yelling at the TV.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Everybody can
Other
get
people to yell with.
Yeah, everybody else can get frustrated and cheer with you and laugh with you. And
I mean, I've never been at such a crowded public event at a bar and seen so many people just like.
Where there wasn't a quiz the next day.
Really? Yeah.
Obviously, there were some cheers in the good parts, but it was really fun watching it with a bunch of people I've never watched in a group like that before. So it was really cool, and I hope they do it again.
For sure, it's definitely great to see like other people reacting in the same way I'm reacting. I'm like, oh, you over there, you get it. Like I'm like, you get it. So it's great. It's great to like, you know, feel that like, you know, you're not alone and thinking like, you know, what's going on is a certain way, you know.
We're continuing efforts like Illinois Edition, which is the week daily news program that I produce and report for. We feature work from reporters all over the state, as well as our own education desk reporter, Dusty Rhodes, and Brian Mackey, who's been running things at the State House. And so meanwhile, back to Carter and others on the development side of things who have more engagement activities planned.
So we're still interested in how people are like reacting to the results of the election. So this is a poster for an art exhibit we have coming up where people, community members can submit art that's inspired by or a reaction to the first 100 days of the Trump administration. And there's still like 4 days left to submit artwork. So if any of you guys are artists or know anybody who is an artist, they can still, there's still time to submit. So, and then in regards to state politics, we've partnered with AARP and different NPR member stations throughout the state to host a series of public forums coming up to hear from people who have been impacted by the lack of a state budget. So that's coming up, and we'll be recording those both audio and video for the radio station and for our website. And we'll also be encouraging legislators to attend those events as well in each of the districts that the public forums are held. And there's the poster for that. So that's a couple things to look forward to in the next couple months, so stay tuned. Thank you.
My name is Nadia Gronkowski, and I'm the Social Innovation Program Coordinator at Innovate Springfield.
For those of you in the room who don't know us, I see a lot of friendly faces, but for those who might not be familiar, Innovate Springfield is a combination business and social innovation incubator located in downtown on the Old State Capitol Plaza. And we are thrilled to have such a close relationship with the Center for State Policy and Leadership. So please, anytime you're downtown, don't hesitate to stop by. We love walk-ins. We'd love to see you all there and come in and check out what we're up to. I also want to recognize our wonderful executive director, Katie Davison, is here. So if you're interested in learning more about what we do, please see one of us after class. And if you and I were having a conversation right now, this would probably be the part where you would kind of nod, or you would very politely find a way to ask me what exactly is social innovation and why does it need coordinating. Innovate Springfield's social innovation program is focused on supporting local nonprofits in aligning with high quality research and data to maximize their positive impact on the community. And our first roadmap for doing that is the Sangamon Success Report. And that's a set of 25 recommendations that's focused on supporting local youth, less advantaged youth, from cradle to career through evidence-based programming. And the creation of the report was spearheaded by the one and only Dr. David Racine. And it's administered by the Sangamon County Continuum of Learning, which is a partnership among the Community Foundation for the Land of Lincoln, several of them are here today, the United Way of Central Illinois, the Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce, and the Center for State Policy and Leadership, and now Innovate Springfield is excited to join their group. So this complex web of collaborators and administrators and stakeholders really all drives towards a simple singular goal. And that is that as a community, we need to come together to do what works for those who need it the most. We need to ensure that when young faces look up and when young hands reach out and when young brains begin to absorb what's around them, that someone is there in every less advantaged child's life to provide high quality support, evidence-based, for every less advantaged youth and his or her family. So in different terms, or in the form of a fun, colorful picture, what that simple singular goal looks like is this chart. And if we intervene all along the continuum of a child's life, the cumulative benefits of those interventions can narrow the achievement gap significantly. So the Sangamon Success Report follows the stages of a child's development, and at every stage recommends areas where the Sangamon County community can come together around research and evidence and innovation to sustain and create those cumulative benefits for those we serve. So if Sangamon Success is what we need, then the Continuum of Learning and Innovate Springfield are hard at work every day trying to figure out how exactly we make it happen. So I'd like to share a little bit about what we've been up to in implementing Sangamon Success. So the first Sangamon Success recommendation is to implement the Nurse Family Partnership Program in Springfield. And we're excited to announce, kind of hot off the press, that the Nurse Family Partnership has been approved for Springfield, Illinois. SIU School of Medicine's federally qualified health center will be implementing it. So when the home visiting nurses who are being hired right now, and actually if you know any people with BAs in nursing who would be interested in being a home visiting nurse, please, again, see me after class. But when those nurses are hired and they start seeing their clients in early summer of this year, they'll be embarking on an educational journey alongside their first-time low-income mother clients who, need our support as a community. And that support will last from their 28th week of pregnancy all the way to their child's second birthday. So it's really quite a relationship that they build. And we're really excited to harness the benefits of this program for Springfield moms and for the Springfield community. Youth mentoring is also an important part of the Sangamon Success recommendations. There's a vast body of research around what works in youth mentoring, and in order to bring that research to bear in Sangamon County, I'm working with a great group of local program leaders to organize the Sangamon County Youth Mentoring Summit. It's going to be June 14th of this year, so write that down, save the date. And it's going to be a day-long event based on the elements of effective mentoring practice from the National Mentoring Resource Center. It's giving rise to great collaborations with Forefront and the Illinois Mentoring Partnership, and I'm hoping that we can all, again, come together around the organizations and the individuals who give their time and resources in really personal ways to connect with youth who need connection in our community. Other Sangamon success recommendations focus on ensuring that the diverse group of adults who educate our youngest children, so elementary school teachers, preschool and daycare providers, and out-of-school time professionals, that they all understand the science behind child development and how specifically they can support the development of executive functioning in a child's brain. So in order to do that, we've piloted an interactive learning activity called the Brain Architecture Game. It's a lot of fun. We've played it so far with about 50 people in Springfield, most recently at the Center's Conference on Children in Poverty. A lot of great light bulb moments there. And so we look forward to connecting with more groups in the community that could benefit from that activity. Finally, I'll say we are exploring new ways to support kindergarten readiness for Sangamon County's littlest residents. We are soon hoping to be able to provide a database platform for preschool and daycare providers so that they can track the results of their students' developmental screening tools, so that they can use those results in meaningful ways to inform their teaching and to make sure their students are really ready for kindergarten. So in closing, I'll just say, we talk a lot in Springfield about how to retain our talented young people. We heard that from Matt earlier with the Survey Research Office. People want more educational opportunities here. And the bottom line is that in order to not just retain our talented young people, but to prepare them to contribute to our community in the many ways that they're so uniquely prepared to do that, we need to show them that we support them, and we need to mobilize our community's best resources for its most vulnerable young people. And that's what Sangamon Success tries to do, and we're excited to continue that work. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Blackwell. I'm an undergraduate student here at UIS, majoring in social work. And since August 2016, I've had the privilege of working as a social work intern at the Illinois Innocence Project, where students, volunteers, and attorneys at law collaborate to research and investigate claims of innocence, encourage reforms to prevent wrongful convictions, and educate both students and the public about wrongful convictions. Moreover, it's worth noting that UIS's Illinois Innocence Project is the only innocence organization in the country which affords undergraduate students an opportunity to conduct the extensive and extremely important criminal case research necessary to win the freedom of the wrongfully convicted, while also affording them an opportunity to be involved in many of the related efforts which lead to an individual's exoneration. In fact, owing to the dedicated efforts of students, volunteers, and staff attorneys, in the past 5 years, the Illinois Innocence Project has helped 7 wrongfully convicted men and women regain their freedom after spending years behind bars for crimes they did not commit. 2 of those individuals, Tashomi Campbell and Charles Palmer, each of whom spent 18 years behind bars for crimes they did not commit, were released within the past year. I am also happy to report that another individual, William Moore, may be released from prison any day now. Whether a student aspires to earn a law degree or become a social worker, through their involvement in the Illinois Innocence Project, they can develop a practical appreciation of criminal justice law, learn how to conduct and convey research, and learn how to collaborate in a nonprofit organization to achieve social justice. In addition to helping wrongfully convicted men and women regain their freedom, the Illinois Innocence Project recognizes the pressing need to afford many of its clients some guidance and support during their transition into society. Alongside 2 other social work students, Brianna Chanel and Rebecca Impens, I've had the privilege of helping the project develop a client reentry support plan to assist in providing the project's exonerees with a modicum of support and guidance as they reenter society after spending years behind bars for crimes they did not commit. My involvement with the Illinois Innocence Project has helped me significantly in bridging the gaps between theory and practice, and in developing skills which will facilitate me as I continue my studies in the fall at the University of Chicago School of Social Service Administration. where I will focus my efforts on the research and development of smart decarceration policies and on deconstructing and hopefully getting rid of the false narratives which promote and sustain mass incarceration, such as the war on drugs. In the following video, you will have an opportunity to learn more about the meaningful work we do at the Illinois Innocence Project.
At my family's house, you know, enjoying my night. It was Christmas Eve, and you know, it's funny how that whole night changed that whole morning changed my life. You know what I mean? Like, to be accused of something that you didn't do, and to have the police tell you that we don't know if you had anything to do with this, but if you don't do what we want, if you don't say what we want you to say, we're gonna throw a murder on you. And I tell them I'm gonna see them at trial, and they actually threw a murder on me. And I did 18 years of my life as a result of that work.
I'd always had a healthy skepticism of the criminal justice system to begin with, even walking in to the project. I don't know where that came from. Maybe I wouldn't even call it, you know, like a negative skepticism, just critical thinking skills that I'd always known that just by the sheer volume of people who are prosecuted and imprisoned on a yearly basis, that it was not possible that some of those people had not been wrongfully convicted or falsely accused and wrongfully convicted. It is unfortunate, but it is necessary that projects like the Illinois Innocence Project, as well as other national projects, exist because they exist to help remedy that gap.
I use the term actual innocence, and I think it's important for people to understand what that means. Actual innocence does not mean that there was some error of law during a trial that produced an unfair result. It does not mean that there was a lesser role of responsibility in a crime. What it means is that they got the wrong person, that there's an error made. And the system makes errors, make no mistake about it. If the criminal justice system did not make errors, it would be the only discipline, the only profession among, in our country, in our world, that was mistake-proof. And of course, it makes errors.
Right now, our mission is advocacy, education, and reform. The reform part is particularly critical and has been within the movement since it started, because we all understood that the number of cases out there is just endless right now. We don't see a bottom to it at the moment. And so the question became, you can take legal cases one by one, and the amount of work that goes into a case is anywhere from 3 to 6 or 7 years of work. One case. We can do that, but the problem is if we don't do something to stop the problem at the bottom, to minimize wrongful convictions, this is going to go on forever and ever. Our goal is to put ourselves out of business. We know that's not going to happen for a long time, but that's the goal.
The amount of requests are frankly overwhelming at times. It's a daunting task to read these letters and to see the information that comes in and the stacks and stacks of paper. It is very, very daunting. We are always in need of additional resources. And frankly, a project like ours, while supported generously by the university to the extent of its ability, can't survive without substantial private donations from people who care about justice.
Everybody who's in prison is not innocent, but for the ones who are, there are people out here fighting. Innocence Project. It's real, and I got to do my part to get that message across to the people who are losing belief in what could happen if you don't give up.
In Kankakee County, I can still hear Joe Burrow's chains dropping to the floor. I can still hear them. I'll hear those my whole life. I can still hear Randy Steidel's mom crying when Randy walked out of prison.
I will say, with all the work I've done, going all the way back to when I was involved in the civil rights movement, all of the other things that I've even mentioned, nothing has exceeded the reward of being able to walk someone out of prison who's actually innocent and give them a piece of their life back.
If you care about justice, you should care about what we do. Because we are one of the few endeavors in life, in the world, where we're trying to right a wrong. And unless you think that such wrongs never occur, then you should support us, because that's what we're trying to do.
I don't know about you, but I'm really impressed by the presentations this morning. Now, I'm supposed to say that, of course, but you know, I suppose that when in my mind, when I decided that I wanted to turn this over to our younger stakeholders, that I was looking for a bit of therapy or reassurance about the future. We have been in this is putting a charitable construction on it, a peculiar time in Illinois and the nation. Our politics are as strange as they ever have been. There's been no progress on a budget, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any. Have my fingers crossed that will change. But and so there's a pretty good case to be made for pessimism. Yet, when I see this younger group of people come up here and present and talk about the work that we're doing, I'm reassured or encouraged that in their hands we have a chance. Now, I could go in the direction of saying, well, the baby boom was in charge these last 20 years, and now look what we've given to you. And there's some truth in that, let's be clear. But nonetheless, I think that every generation has its mix of successes and failures, and I'm sure that the next generations will have that same experience. But as I say, I think that at least you saw a small sample of the talent that has been drawn into the orbit of the center for state policy and leadership in the past year and so or so, and the ability that these younger folks have to make a difference seems to me patently clear. So congratulations to all of them for their. Now, I wanted to say, since our obligation is to get you out of here quickly so you can still work a full day, I want to say a little bit about the near future for the center, touching on some of the projects that have just been mentioned. As I say, this doesn't cover everything we do, but it certainly highlights some key things and sort of demonstrates the way we work. But some of the activity that's currently underway or that will be, to give you a flavor for how we're not allowing the worry of the moment to stop us from continuing to try to move forward. There's, pessimism is a poor strategy overall. I mean, live that way. I mean, get the sakes, you wind up in depressed and taking drugs. So the Illinois Innocence Project, we just applied for, here's with the federal government, we don't know how long the money will last, but the Illinois Innocence Project has applied for a grant under its wrongful convictions category that was just submitted a little bit ago. And we're hopeful about that. And there's a DNA testing grant that's become available where the proposal's due in May. We're going to be applying for that. So we're not stopping. We're going to continue trying to attract those resources. As John Hanlon indicated in the video, we have a need for resources to support this project and to enable to continue to do the good that it's doing, both for the wrongfully convicted and for the students who get to participate in it. So work continues. And we're going to be having our Defender of the Innocence event coming up at the end of this month, where we hope to raise lots and lots of private money. If you haven't signed up for it, please do. And if you can't come and still would like to make a donation, I'm sure that John Hannon would be happy to take your check before you leave today. The Child Protection Training Academy, under the able leadership of Betsy Goulet and Susan Evans, is been benefiting from funding from the Department of Children and Family Services. That got the ball rolling, and we've had 2 years now of regular funding for it, and we're getting a third, right, Betsy? Yep. And under Betsy's enterprising leadership, we've attracted other resources to that work overall. So that's a going concern, beginning to develop real momentum. We're developing a minor in leadership. We're hoping to. I can't promise that yet, can I, Barb? Because there's as the chancellor knows, there's an approval process that we have to go through here. I'd just like to start it tomorrow, but that's not going to happen at an institution of higher education. But to create an opportunity for undergraduates early on in their careers here to get some really rich training in leadership. We need to be doing a better job of that, preparing people for assuming leadership in our society. This is a great campus to do that because we're in the state capitol. Leadership lived is our mantra. So we're hopeful that will come to pass. We've had budget issues in Illinois, and that 2 years ago, when they first started to mount, we were worried that money would evaporate for our 2 graduate internship programs that were featured at the very beginning of the program, the Graduate Public Service Internship Program and the Illinois Legislative Staff Intern Program, and yet they're going really well. I mean, it's the GPSI program actually lost a little bit, and then it sort of picked up. Was Rance in here somewhere, right? It's kind of picked up to where it was. Yeah, so we just need more students to compete for those positions. But so those have gone really well, and I use these just as examples to show that even in these difficult times, it's possible to still make our way forward and to make a positive contribution to public life in Illinois. In closing, behind me here, we usually, if you've come to this event before, you leave, you get a tree-killing document in your hand. And we have, in order, because we're interested in conserving resources, we have foregone the publication of that document. We're going modern. I'm not going to say that this is entirely due to the younger generation in our midst, but certainly under Rob Fafolia's guidance, we've been able to make this happen. This is an entirely online report. It's kind of cool, but it's a first version of it, so we would appreciate any feedback you want to have. You can email me, call me, let me know what you think. This is what it looks like when you open it up. At your table, you have this piece of paper, which show the program, but there's a card, a business card, which has our Facebook link. Again, now that's something that, I'm not going to say that was against my will, but because it wasn't. I think Rob would say it wasn't against my will, but okay, fine, go ahead, do it. I don't, but when you go on that Facebook link, I would like you, when you leave here, you get back to, you've got a computer, put those letters in, get on our Facebook. see how lame I am about all this? Go on our Facebook page. I want you to hit the like button, which I think is a thumbs up, right? I got that much right. And then it will provide you with access to our annual report. You can link on it from there. Plus, you can also go to our regular website and link on the page. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming this morning. We really appreciate it. We hope you have a good year, because we do this yearly. Maybe I won't see some of you until a year from now. Hopefully, we'll still be going strong. Thank you.